In this lecture, I'm going to show you how to add Google Analytics code via Tag Manager. Go ahead and open Google Tag Manager and choose the workspace that you're going to work in. I am going to work on default workspace. Click on Add a New Tag. This will take you to the interface where you will add your tags. The first step is to give your tag a name. In this scenario, I'm going to call it Google Analytics tag. The icon next to the name is for a folder. Remember, we discussed about these folders where you can organize your tags and triggers. So let's go ahead and put this tag in a folder. By clicking on this icon, you will be able to see the list of your folders. I'm going to create a new folder and call it GA tag. Go ahead and click create. Your folder is now created. We will look at the folder once we're done with tag creation. There are two ways you can go to the tag add screen, either by clicking in the middle or clicking on this pencil icon. After you define your tag, you will have to define how you're going to trigger, whether it's going to be triggered on all the pages or for certain conditions. So let's go ahead and click. Now it takes you to a screen where all the supported tags are listed, including custom HTML, custom image. For anything that's not supported listed here, you can use custom HTML or custom image tags. Anything that's listed, Google Tag Manager has already created easy interface for you to start using these tags. Go ahead and familiarize yourself with the list of tags so that you know which ones are supported and which ones aren't. We are going to use Google Analytics, which is a universal analytics, which is the latest version of Google Analytics. So go ahead and click on it. And now you can see that Google Analytics tag is enabled for you. By clicking on the pencil next to it, and now you'll see that Universal Analytics or Google Analytics tag is available for you. There are three other options you have to select before this tag can be finalized. One is what kind of things do you want to track? Page views is enabled by default, which means we need to do page view level tracking. And there are a few other options that are available, which we'll cover as needed. But for our basic tracking, we are going to track at page view level. So go ahead and select page views. Then the next option is to select your Google Analytics tracking ID, which is tied to your Google Analytics property. If you have used it in past, then it should be available in a variable, or you'll have to create a new variable. Since we haven't used it in past, let's go ahead and click new variable. You have to give a name to your new variable. We'll call it GA tracking ID. You also have to provide Google Analytics tracking ID. Where you get the tracking ID is from your Google Analytics. So go to your Google Analytics. So you get this tracking ID from your Google Analytics. Go to the admin section of your Google Analytics. Click on tracking info, tracking code, and this is the tracking ID that you need. Go ahead and copy it and paste it in tracking ID. Next is you have to select the cookie domain. You will generally leave it at auto unless you are doing cross-domain tracking in Google Analytics. That means you are tracking multiple domains by using the same tracking ID. Since we are only doing basic Google Analytics implementation at this point, leave it as auto and go ahead and click save. So now you've got your setting enabled. If you are selecting a certain variable from this field, then you can check this box if you do not want all the properties of that variable to come along for this tracking. If you do want those properties to come, then you leave it unchecked. For our purposes, we'll leave it unchecked. It's a brand new implementation. We're not overriding anything. We're creating everything from scratch. So go ahead and click save. Now once the tag is created, Google Tag Manager provides you an option to either add a trigger or save tag. You will have to create a trigger for that tag to fire. Since we haven't created it, let's go ahead and add trigger. If we only save the tag, then we can go back to the screen and add a trigger. You will need a trigger for this tag to work. So go ahead and say add trigger. In this screen, you'll choose the trigger that you want to apply to your tag. All pages trigger is already available. This is a default trigger provided in Google Tag Manager, which means apply this tag on all the pages. However, if you do need to create a custom trigger, then you'll click on this plus sign, and add your trigger. We're not going to go through this one in this lecture, so go ahead and exit out. For our purposes, we are going to fire Google Analytics tag on every page since we want to track all the pages. So go ahead and select all pages, which is selected by default, and then click add. This will add the trigger to your tag. So right now, this is the universal Google Analytics tag that is going to track page views, and the property ID for Google Analytics is in this variable, and this tag will fire on all the pages. Go ahead and click save. Now you'll see the workspace gave us, like we did 3 actions here. We added a GA tracking ID. We created a folder called GA tag. Forget about the other stuff that I've done in past, but this is what we have been doing. Adding Google Analytics tag, GA tracking ID, and GA tag. So you can see all these things. Once you're satisfied with everything, and now you're ready to test it out, you can do a preview to see how the tag will look like, what tag will be fired. So go ahead and click on preview. Now you can see the preview mode is enabled for you. In order for the preview to work, in order for you to preview and debug, you go to your site. So Analytics Hire in this case, and this will launch the site in a preview mode. This is the preview panel, and this is your site. Scroll down and you'll see tags fired on this page, which is the home page that we launched, is Google Analytics tag. This is the one we just implemented. There are a few things that I want to talk about in this preview panel or debug mode. This is the summary. Summary means everything that's getting fired will be listed here. Then you have few options: page views, DOM ready, window loaded. Page view, for our simple tag, we enabled it at a page view level. What that means is this tag gets fired as soon as the page starts to load. There is also advanced triggering available, which is DOM ready and window loaded. DOM stands for Document Object Model, which means the tag should only be fired after the DOM is ready, which means the page has started to construct itself and all the elements are available. In certain cases, you do not want to fire a tag as soon as the page begins to load, but you would like to wait for the DOM to be ready so that you can access certain elements such as forms or buttons from the page. In that case, you'll use DOM ready. Then there is also window loaded, which means everything on that window has been loaded, all the JavaScripts, all the images, etc. The page is fully loaded. That's when a window loaded happens. In certain conditions, you might want to use that because you have to access those values from your window. Then there are variables. When you click on variables, you can see all the variables that are available. Event, it fires on GTM.js, which is the JavaScript. GA tracking, Google Analytics, host name, page path, page URL, and referrer. Since we came directly to the site, the referrer field is empty. If we had come from another site, then you would see a value for page referrer. Page path is /, which is the default page or the index page. And this is the page URL. If you click on another page, then this value will change. This value shows the current page now. If by clicking on variables, you do not see the list of variables, then make sure to select the proper data layer, which is a page view in this case. So once the debugging is done, you can go back. Once the debugging is done, you can go back to Google Tag Manager, and now you're satisfied, you're ready to publish it. So go ahead and click submit. Give a descriptive name to this version. We are going to call it Google Analytics tag, and we are going to push it to the live environment. So go ahead and click publish, and the tag is now published. And you can leave the preview mode because you're done. Now you're out of the preview mode. Your tag has been published. It's a version 3. So don't worry about this version 3. That's the one I was using. You might get a different number here, but it has been published now, and your default workspace is empty for you to work on any next tag. You can see what the latest version was by clicking on it, and you can see what the changes were made. We did a tag called Google Analytics tag, which was triggering on all the pages. If you want to make some changes, you can go ahead and click and there you are. You can also go to tag and you will see your tag is available here. Go ahead and click on this tag. It launches you into the same window. If you do have to change your tag, you can edit it by hovering over this window and it'll show you a pencil icon. Click on it and you can change it, or you can also go to these options to copy, delete, pause any tracking, view changes, etc. Go to variables and you can see all those variables as well as the custom variable that you defined, which was GA tracking ID. And if you have to make a change, just click on the variable and you are launched into the window. This is where you can make any changes, as well as you have options to copy, delete, etc. here. Then the next is folders. Go ahead and click on folder. And you can see your folder is available right here, which is Google Analytics tag folder. Click on it and you can see your tag is now available in this folder. You will be able to see all your folders in this window. So that's it. You've just created your first tag using Google Tag Manager and learned how everything is organized.